we're excited to be here with all of you today. And again, thank you for joining us. We do want to acknowledge that this material was funded by USDA's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, and this institution is an equal opportunity provider. I would like to introduce you all today the network engagement team, which includes myself, Alejandra Morales, the network engagement program manager, and I will allow for the other two team members to introduce themselves as well.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Kennedy Saucedo. I'm the Network Engagement Senior Program Coordinator. Excited to have you all here today, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anna Shannon. I'm the other Network Engagement Program Coordinator. I'm super excited to be here with you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy this summer.
Thank you, Kennedy and Anna. They will both be on the call. If you have any questions, please make sure to include them in the chat, or you can chat us individually, and I'll make sure that we get back to you. So I do want to start off by acknowledging that, as a lot of us know, our SNAP-Ed funding is coming to an end in California, and we understand that this transition is not easy, but it does give us the chance and the opportunity to reflect on the meaningful impact that we've had together, whether it be supporting healthier communities, building strong relationships and partnerships, and creating change that lasts. So that is one of the main reasons why we still decided to host this Promising Practices Summit, to not only highlight the successes of the past, but also to highlight the new opportunities ahead. So today is meant for sharing ideas, lifting innovation, and exploring how we can continue this important work in new and sustainable ways. So again, thank you for joining us today. Would like to go over just some quick housekeeping rules. We will be sharing the slides and the resources after the event, because we do want your full attention. So any slides or any resources mentioned will be shared after the summit. Do feel free to get involved, whether that be by unmuting yourself or using the chat. We will be having networking activities, and we will be jumping into an icebreaker here shortly, just so that we can get to know who's on the call and just feel comfortable with one another for when we do jump into those networking breakout rooms. And just a reminder to take breaks as needed. This is a long event. We do have a break scheduled for the halfway mark. But if you feel like you need a break or a bio break, feel free to get up and stretch or walk away and come back to the event. Going into the next slide, which is our Nutrition Security Peer Learning Community. It's a website where you can connect with and build relationships with other CalFresh Healthy Living implementers and also Leah's Pantry implementers. So this website is targeted for those that are working in the nutrition field or physical activity sector, or just in the public health sector in general. And it's a great space to connect with folks from outside of California. So we have representation from about 15 different states on our website at the Peer Learning Community. So if you don't have an account, feel free to create an account, collaborate with one another, exchange ideas, partner with different organizations, and also start new conversations with one another on the platform. So if you scan that QR code, it will take you directly to the website. And if you don't already have an account, you can create an account. It is completely free. And it has a lot of great resources for you to review if you decide to create an account. All right, so for today's agenda, we'll have a quick icebreaker, then we'll be followed by a presentation from the Kern County Blue Zones Project, continued by California Walks. Then we'll go into a break. We'll have our first networking activity. We will be sharing the presentation on Alameda County's behalf. They unfortunately were triple booked today, so they were unable to join us, but we will still be sharing their presentation. Then we'll jump into another networking activity. We'll have some Leah's Pantry announcements, and then we'll jump into closing remarks. Our first presenter, which is the Blue Zones Project here in Kern County, So I'd like to introduce to you all Karina Funes, Policy Supervisor at Blue Zones Project, Bakersfield. So Karina is responsible for collaborating with community partners and stakeholders to implement local policies that will improve the health of the Bakersfield community. She grew up in East Bakersfield, where the lack of access to healthier food options and the need of a much improved built environment sparked her interest for advocating for local policies. She studied public health policy at the University of California, Irvine, and then pursued her master's in public health from the University of Southern California. Karina has worked on local policy initiatives such as school wellness policies, safe routes to school, and local tobacco control policies during her time at Kern County Public Health Services Department. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce you all to Karina Funes, and Karina, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Alejandra. Hi, everyone. My name is Karina Funes, and I'm excited to share some of the work that we have been doing at Blue Zones Project Bakersfield when it comes to active transportation and complete streets. Next slide, please. We are sponsored by Adventist Health California Resources Corporation and the City of Bakersfield. So if you haven't heard of Blue Zones, it all started when Dan Buettner went around the world studying where people are living a lot longer, and they're not just living longer, but they're living healthier lives. And so this was a pretty long study, and story was actually featured in the National Geographic. And what he found is that there are 5 areas around the world where people are living longer, better. And although all these places were geographically different, right? We have Loma Linda, California, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Sardinia, Italy, Ikuria, Greece, and Okinawa, Japan. These blue zones had some common traits that helped contribute to their longevity. And see, these are some of their common traits. So in the original blue zones, people were moving naturally. So they were walking to school, to work, they were biking. Their environment naturally allowed them to move naturally. And living life with purpose, downshifting. They had mostly a plant-based diet. They always made time to meet with friends in the afternoon. And a lot of them had a sense of belonging and felt like they had like the right tribe, so that core group of friends that they're able to lean on when times get tough. And so Blue Zones Project is an initiative that we're trying to do here in Bakersfield, but there's quite a few other Blue Zones projects throughout the nation. And what we're trying to do is try to integrate some of these common traits, the Power Nine, into our local communities. And so the way we work is that we are divided within our Blue Zones project with people, places, and policy. And all 3 sectors help contribute to try to incorporate the Power Nine principles. And I focus on the policy area for Bakersfield. And so some of the reasons why we focus on policy is that community policy has a big impact on healthy choices. And so the 3 areas that I focus on are tobacco control policies, food systems, and the built environment. And again, health policies have a large impact. So it's create new social norms. So one example I always like to give is smoking in restaurants or airplanes. In California and in the United States, right? Some of these things are still very new to us, but at one point it was acceptable to smoke in an airplane. And now because of policies that were enacted, it's created a new social norm. And also creates an equitable environment. If a policy is passed at a city level or a local level, it's going to ensure that the policy is going to happen for everybody that lives within that community. Again, right, just because a policy passed though, like we still need to do some work to make sure that those policies are going to happen in very specific communities too, and nobody is left out. And also provides accountability that protects people for years to come. Blue Zones project is only a 5-year project, so we want to focus on policy that's going to live beyond the life of our project, but it's also going to ensure that there is that sustainability in place. And that's why we also have heavily rely on partners to try to work on some of these health policies. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to touch on today is Although we focus on policy, there are other things that we also try to focus on as well because um, we want to make sure that there's also engagement and implementation that happens and awareness as well. And one of the projects that we focused on early on was our Always Safe campaign, which was a pedestrian safety campaign that we did here locally in Bakersfield. Next slide, please. So the problem, Bakersfield has consistently been ranked as one of the worst cities to be a pedestrian. I think the last report from Smart Growth America said we were ranked #4. So we do have a problem here in Bakersfield. And so Blue Zones Project Bakersfield has made it one of their community-wide metrics to reduce pedestrian fatalities by the end of our project. So the way we're going to get that is through policies, education, campaigns, and working with partners like our city partners. And so we did a large social media campaign. We did videos. We did also some still graphics on our social media pages that were in English, Spanish, and in Punjabi. And one of our bigger videos that we promoted at the time had over 15,000 views. I haven't checked the newer number, but it should be probably around the same. And we got some really great engagement from that. We asked some questions in some of the captions of our videos, and these are some of the comments that were left on our social media video. So how about some protected bike lanes? Bike lanes that don't immediately end before a busy intersection. So that's already kind of showing that people are identifying that there are some issues in their community that they want to see. I think one of my favorites is the last one, target spears on every sidewalk. So, right, that's not realistic, but those are also some things that we already sort of do, not exactly target spears, but right, protected bike lanes. So people are interested and know that there is a problem in our community and that there are some potential solutions. We just have to kind of figure out a way to really implement it or help make those connections too. So another project that we helped was with the active transportation plan for the city of Bakersfield. The city of Bakersfield was working with a consultant to try to create this active transportation plan. And again, one of the main reasons why is because we are one of the most dangerous places to be a pedestrian in the United States. And so in January 2025, the city of Bakersfield adopted an active transportation plan. The way Blue Zones Project helped with the active transportation plan is we reached out to a consultant at the national level to really dig into the active transportation plan that the city had, the draft one. And from there, we made some recommendations like more community engagement and doing the smaller projects too. A lot of the projects originally had very costly projects, and right, we know that from demonstration projects and smaller projects, there are opportunities to still make a difference at a smaller scale. And um, this is a plan, right? So this is more of a roadmap of what the city can do. Um, and although the plan was passed, we want to make sure that there's still accountability at the city level, that they're going to continue to pursue some of the recommendations that were in this plan. Um, because the difference between a plan and a policy, right? Policy, you do have to implement a plan is kind of like, this is what our goal is, doesn't necessarily mean that they have to implement it. So the work still has to continue to try to incorporate more active transportation strategies within the city. And the next policy that we focused on was complete streets. So again, problem, Bakersfield's ranked the 4th most dangerous metro area for a pedestrian. And one of the solutions that we had for this was to try to pass a complete streets ordinance, which we did in November 2023. And when it comes to a complete streets ordinance, what that means is that every time that the city is going to repave a street, they're going to try to incorporate best practices to make sure that the road is safe for not just motorists, but also for pedestrians and for cyclists. And so this has created a lot of new green bike lanes in our community, which um, is a bit controversial in our community. Some people are still very hesitant about the green bike lanes, and um, but we're trying to do a lot of education around the green bike lanes, and this effort is still ongoing. Um, Next slide, please. And so, with Complete Streets, although we passed the policy, there is still a lot of education that we are still trying to do within our community. Again, people are still very hesitant about some of the green bike lanes. We had a couple roads where there used to be 3 lanes, and now it's reduced to 2 because there was a buffer and a bike lane that was added, and people are very upset that right 1 lane was reduced. It's causing a little bit more traffic, but there is a high school that is right on that road, and so it's allowed for more students to ride their bikes. And one of the pushbacks that we happen to get quite a bit is, well, nobody uses the bike lanes, but with Blue Zones Project, one of the things that we really try to push for is that people want to make a healthy choice, that is going to be available for them. So that's why we really advocated for Complete Streets, and why we want to continue um, to educate the community about the benefits of Complete Streets. And we are starting to see a difference. In the last couple of years, we have seen a decrease in pedestrian fatalities. And so we are hoping that um, the next time we are not ranked as high for pedestrian fatalities at the national level.
Riding a bike on a
Can you
bike
hear
lane
it?
is a great way to move naturally throughout Bakersfield. There are a few things that motorists and bicyclists must consider when on our roads. Vehicles must not cross over to the bike lane unless there is a dash line. Dashed bicycle lanes allow vehicles to temporarily enter for right turns. The green paint on the bicycle lane helps increase visibility, identifies conflict areas, and prioritizes bicyclists. Bike lane buffers physically separate cyclists from motorists, reducing the risk of conflicts. They can include chevron or diagonal markings, bollards, planterns, or parking lanes, enhancing cyclist safety and comfort. Bike lane buffers serve a crucial role in ensuring the safety and comfort of cyclists. Blue Zones Project Bakersfield encourages you to move naturally throughout our community and ride a bike throughout Bakersfield. Make sure to always be safe.
And that was one of our videos. And that one we actually were able to do it in Spanish and in Punjabi. Yeah. And again, we are still working on trying to implement some of these strategies. And so, although the plans and policies have passed, we are still doing some work around it. So, this includes walking audits, advocacy efforts, education campaigns like our bike safety campaign. And we're still trying to do workshops as well. One of the things that we're trying to do is, I guess one of our next steps is working on safe routes to school, because there's been some students that have passed away because they've been hit by a vehicle on their way home, or on their way to school. So we're still trying to do work around all of this. One of the things that is probably going to be one of our next steps is doing more of like a listening session. A lot of times you don't always hear about the problems that happen until after it's too late. And so we want to see what are some of the challenges that are happening right now within some of our schools, or just anything that's happening in our community. And that's where we would try to advocate to try to implement some best practices. And that is everything. Are there any questions? And yes, I could share the survey and the walking audit questions.
Awesome. And then once you share that, I'll add it to the follow-up email and our Talent LMS platform so you guys can go back and refer to it.
Any questions for Karina? Feel free to unmute, or if you'd like to share in the chat, you can ask in the chat as well. We'll give it a couple minutes, but we do have some kudos for Karina. Thank you for the great presentation. Let's see.
I had a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Kelvin.
First of all, I'm intrigued that you have a Punjabi community. California continually surprises me with how many cultures, languages, backgrounds are in the state. I'm wondering about funding. here in PSA 25 in Los Angeles, I work with the Department of Aging. So getting older individuals out, walking, reducing isolation, increasing physical activity, funding sources to get older adults out. So if you're going to have a plan that is going to look at ways to make it safer, is there also an opportunity to, or have you been able to take advantage of opportunities for monies to flow in, perhaps to those wards or those council districts where you're wanting to make safe spaces for people to walk? Because I'm thinking when I listen to you about this Professor Carlos Moreno and his idea of the 15-minute city, where you have an urban plan where you can move around and do things, you can maybe work, play, shop in a small area. So I'm wondering about the funding for some of for some of this initiative, and was any of it by way of looking at ways to fund activity for older adults, or perhaps intergenerational activities that would include older adults? Thank you.
Yeah, so that's one area that we haven't really explored. Some of our partners have explored a little bit more of that, and so we haven't done any of that work directly. But one of the things that one of the projects we worked on was a campaign. It's called a Love Your Park campaign, where we were trying to um, um, improve some of our local parks. And so, one of our local parks, the City of Bakersfield Blue Zones Project, and the our local senior center, the Bakersfield Senior Center, we worked on trying to improve a local park, and with that, we advocated for more sidewalks within the park so people can get around and make it more accessible. Um, but that's really the extent. I know some other Blue Zones project communities, what they've done is they've looked at certain policies that they're going to also look at best practices to try to make the community more aware, but also create some strategies that's going to um, have it where it's more accessible and safer for older adults. But that's just one area that us locally have not explored.
I'm putting my information in the chat because I'm interested in your Love Your Park campaign. We have a number of senior sites in Los Angeles that are co-located with parks. So we work very closely with Rec and Park. And there might be something, if it's not proprietary, we're not going to use it, or at least I don't intend to use it. I would like to just get more visibility on how that worked, because Rec and Park is a close partner of ours. If that's
Yep.
possible, I'll put my information in the chat.
Yes, thank you. I will reach out.
Thank you, Kelvin, for your question. I do have a follow-up question, and that is, what was the duration of your project?
So we are a 5-year project overall, and the way I tell people it's like a 5-year grant pretty much. And so right now we are in our year 3. So there are still some other like policies we want to pursue when it comes to the built environment. But yeah, we are in year 3 of 5.
You. And follow-up question is, what grant were you awarded?
So as of right now, we're not considered a nonprofit. We are an LLC. And so the work that we do in the community is very similar to like a community-based organization, but we have sponsors, which is Adventist Health, California Research Corporation, and the City of Bakersfield. What we have been awarded is additional funding from the city to do more community engagement around the built environment. One of our I think challenges here locally is community engagement when it comes to new things that are happening within our community. And so we want to make sure that people start engaging before implementation can happen. So one example of that is, for example, when one of the streets, there was a demonstration project that they were doing, and there was a lot of confusion about the new changes, when especially the new parking spaces that were created because now the bike lanes were on the inside part of next to the sidewalk, and then the parking spaces were on the outside. And so a lot of people were confused about that. So we did education around that. And so that's where we're going to be working on with the city moving forward. But as of right now, we are not grant funded.
Thank you, Karina. And we did ask Karina to focus on, for this presentation specifically on active transportation, but the Blue Zones project here in Kern County does a lot of other projects, like she mentioned, including school wellness initiatives. They also work with work sites and restaurants. So we do have a local health system that became like the first local work site to earn a Blue Zones designation. So they do include like physical activity for their staff. They work with local eateries to introduce like Blue Zone inspired dishes. And of course, they do a lot of work around policy and transportation safety. So if you have any questions for Karina, I know she has a hard stop because she has somewhere else to be. So if you have any other questions for Karina, she did share her email in the chat. So feel free to connect with her. And thank you again, Karina, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And if, again, yeah, anything related to Blue Zones, please reach out. Although I focus on policy, we do a lot of overlap, especially with schools right now. That's a lot where our overlap is happening. So please reach out for it. Any questions.
Right, well then, thank you everybody for joining us for that presentation. I'd like to move into the next presentation for today, which is from California Walks, a local organization, and introducing to you all Mia. I apologize. Is it Babalai?
Yes, Miha
Okay.
Babalai.
Miha Babalai, thank you. Miha is dedicated to getting people out of their cars and into their communities. She believes the best way to explore and experience a community is on foot. Miha was born in Eastern Europe and grew up in Southern California. She has over a decade of experience in active transportation, community planning, community engagement, and nonprofit management. Miha has worked with diverse communities across the state to make California a more walkable place. I'd also like to introduce Marta Siqueiros. Marta began her journey into the active transportation field in 2019. She coordinated the implementation of the Safe Routes to School programs for students and families in Alameda and San Bernardino counties, as well as the cities of Fremont, Los Angeles, and Rialto. Since joining the California Walks team, she has collaborated on various projects with communities from diverse regions across the state, encompassing advocacy, community trainings, technical assistance, and community and stakeholder engagement. So welcome, Miha and Martha, and we'll go ahead and get started with your presentation.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much for the introduction and the opportunity to share our work and programs. For those that are unfamiliar with CalWalks, I just wanted to provide a brief introduction to our organization and to our work. California Walks was founded in 2001 as a pedestrian safety coalition of like-minded partners. It received its first grant from the California Department of Public Health, and then 5 years later, became a 501c3 and became the statewide voice for pedestrian safety and healthy walkable communities for people of all ages, abilities, and backgrounds. What we do is we provide input on statewide policies, transportation plans, and transportation grant cycles. We partner with state agencies, organizations, and communities to offer trainings, education, and technical assistance, and really just work to enable communities to achieve their vision of a healthy, walkable, and bikeable community. Um, our our vision, our vision for the state is that we imagine a California where all people walk, run, or roll on people-friendly pathways that are safe, healthy, and welcoming. And we work to co-empower, co-create, and cooperate with communities to reach their goals. I'm really excited today to be able to share first some state wide opportunities. That can help communities meet their active transportation goals. And then Marta will be sharing some programs that we have that CalWalks runs. So the first, I wanted to say first that our participation here today is possible because of funding from the California Endowment and from the Office of Traffic Safety through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. So thank you to our funders. So we can go to the next slide. So our goal is to share several funding sources and resources available to communities throughout the state. And then, like I said, we'll go more in depth into statewide programs and resources that CalWalks offers. But my hope today is at the end of the presentation, you'll be able to identify at least one resource that you could use to support your community's walking and biking safety goals. Okay, so we're going to begin with the Office of Traffic Safety. The Office of Traffic Safety has an annual grant program called the Pedestrian Bicycle Safety Grant Program, and it's available for agencies to apply, any agency in the state. These are one-year grants that target all age groups to raise awareness about traffic rules, rights, and responsibilities on the roadway. Whether someone is driving, walking, or bicycling. Specifically, these programs are designed for high-risk populations, including youth and older community members, and to teach safe alternative transportation behaviors. This grant cycle runs from October 1st to September 30th of each year, and the grant application is released in December. So if this is something of interest to you, definitely start talking about it now with your community, with your agency. It's usually released December 1st or the first week of December, and applications are due pretty quickly. They're due at the end of January. Awards are announced typically in June or July, and grants officially start October 1st. But contracts are often signed much later than October 1st, November, December, sometimes even later. And this is just because of discussions and negotiations with OTS staff on programming, narrative, deliverables, and budget. One thing to know about this grant is that it is a one-year grant, which does sometimes make it difficult to set up long-term programs, but OTS does allow back billing if an organization can cover the upfront costs. So if your contract as a subcontract or an agency is signed, let's say in November or December, you would be allowed to bill starting October 1st. But I would just caution after many years of working with OTS to be very, very clear in what you are requesting funding for and to make sure that they approve your budget narrative and any specific items to be listed very clearly, how they will be used. We have had the experience that sometimes by the time we bill for the first few months in January, state and federal changes to these projects have come about, and now things that were allowed in January when we applied are no longer allowed. So just make sure that you're using just the not the minimum, but the true cost of your program for these things, and always ask your OTS program manager if you have any questions or concerns about something that you'd like to bill. It's better to ask for permission up front than to purchase something and then be declined reimbursement. Now, unfortunately, this is a statewide program, but only agencies can apply. The agencies are pretty diverse. They can be health departments, transportation departments, planning, education departments, universities can apply. California Walks has had an Office of Traffic Safety grant for the last 17 years, and our partnership is with UC Berkeley SafeTrek with the university. But we've also seen other CBOs work with the County Department of Education, with a school district, with a city or county. So there are a lot of opportunities, and really because these are one-year projects, it does help a lot to have an agency or another partner to be able to use the funds, within the allotted time, but also that partnership stretches the funds often. We've worked and heard of agencies that apply where the personnel are funded through the agency. So then that reduces the overall cost of the grant, and then more funding can go to the CBO or to supplies or things like that. I think this program is really great for agencies that are getting started with walking and biking activities. Things like you want to set up a Safe Routes to School program in your community, or you want to set up maybe some kind of program for seniors and you'd like to audit the built environment, or you'd like to test some activities and see how they go, because it's a 1-year grant, you can do that in a year and you can then build off of that in future years. So you can have, the grant kind of as a pilot for the first year and then learn from that and apply again the following December, streamlining and just focusing the project on what the community needs. And again, the whole focus of the project is to reduce injuries and fatalities. So that does have to be really explicitly stated in your project how this will reduce injuries and fatalities. And things like walking and biking audits, safer after school activities like walking school buses, bike rodeos, bike education, even bike maintenance classes, or developing community active transportation plans or community trainings are already understood by OTS to ultimately reach the goal of reducing injuries and fatalities. But if you have a new idea, you might have to spell that out a little bit more, but definitely be creative. There are cities that I know of that use this project to wrap all of the utility boxes with safety messaging, and others that are just coming up with really creative training or communication style programs that OTS is funding. I will say that my experience has been that OTS typically does not fund a full project if it's your agency's first year. They fund a smaller portion of it. And then in future years, you might be able to build that up to the program size that you might actually want. And that also, right now, I have to say, depends on what's going on at the federal level, since a lot of the OTS projects are funded by NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration. And we are now kind of in a limbo. We don't often get clarity right now with the administration on what's going on with funding from the federal level. So if you have any questions about this program, I encourage you to reach out to me or Marta. We're very familiar with it as a subcontractor, but we have also worked with agencies applying for the first time and are happy to provide any technical assistance like reviewing your application, reviewing budget narratives, reviewing what costs you think you want to include. We're happy to provide that support. Okay, so the next one is the Active Transportation Program. The Active Transportation Program was created by Senate Bill 99 to encourage increased use of active modes of transportation, such as walking and biking. The program consolidated various transportation programs into a single program from a combination of state and federal funds. So this is the largest pot of funding at the state level for active transportation infrastructure and non-infrastructure programs. The cycles are happening just about every year, and we're in cycle 8. So next spring, we're anticipating for them to release cycle 8. You can go online and see who was awarded for all of the cycles. You might even be able to find the full applications of those that were awarded. I'm not sure if they put everyone that applied. You can see what they were ranked. So you can get a little bit familiar with this program and what is funded by just Googling Active Transportation Program. California, and it should pop up as one of the first ones. So the goals of the ATP include, but are not limited to, increasing the proportion of trips accomplished by walking and biking, increasing safety and mobility of non-motorized users, advancing efforts of regional agencies to achieve greenhouse gas reductions, goals, enhancing public health, and providing a broad spectrum of projects to benefit many types of users, including disadvantaged communities. This program is pretty broad. Active transportation here does not only mean street infrastructure, so like arterials and roadways. It could also mean trails, and it could also mean safe routes to school activities. The majority of the funding goes to infrastructure projects, but it's a pretty big pot of funding that is for non-infrastructure. It's just that this being now the only active transportation program at the state level, it is very, very competitive. But I will say that don't let the fact that it's competitive stop you. We have worked with communities who apply 1 year and score as one of the lowest, and then through just a review of their application and some changes, the next year they've scored at the top and were awarded their program. So it might take a little bit of effort if you come from a rural or a small community, because it is so competitive. You're working against communities that maybe have specific grant writers or a little bit more personnel to work on it, but California Walks has also been able to provide technical assistance for this program as well. And we expect to be able to provide some also for next year. And there's also a program, Caltrans released an RFO, and it should be awarded October 1st, that would allow communities to apply to get very tailored technical assistance if you want to apply to the ATP. So if you're interested in that, I can provide the email with the RFO, and you can just keep a lookout for it. So for non-infrastructure, a lot of Safe Routes to School projects have been funded. I think out of the non-infrastructure, I hope I'm not messing this up, but I think I read 85% have been Safe Routes to School projects. So those would be at the city, county level or at the school district. Those are often funding activities that encourage safe routes and active lifestyles through youth engagement. So think walking school buses, bike rides, walk audits, just anything related to safe routes to school that's often been funded. Walk audits. Did I say walk audits? I might have said that already. And you can be also creative. There are also school districts that were awarded to do on a bike training for kids. So they were able to purchase like a bike fleet and bring that to all of the elementary schools in their district for the years that they had the grant. What's nice about these grants is they're multi-year grants. So you can apply for multiple years, and that would allow an agency to potentially build up a permanent program, but with what I'll call seed funding from the ATP. And there are a lot of school districts that have done that, and even cities that you might be able to find on the website and maybe even connect with them if that's something that you're interested in. There was a workshop August 21st, so just last week, for this next cycle, but there should be more to come. So if you want to know when these are going to happen, you just have to visit the CATC website to see when they're going to take place. I haven't found a place where you can actually put your email in and get notified. You can also just reach out to us, come January, and if we have the dates, we'll provide them for you. Okay. And this one is the ATRC. So the Active Transportation Resource Center is a place that houses a bunch of resources related to active transportation goals for communities and just resources for them to meet their goals. It includes trainings and events, so you can go on there and see past webinars. It's designed to just increase knowledge and support communities as they work to develop and reach their active transportation goals. I think the resource library is really great because it has a lot of guides and informational materials. So just as an example, if you're interested in safe routes to school, you might want to learn more about it. What does that entail? What do programs look like? What could costs related to safe routes to school program be? You can go to the resource library and find those resources, and that could help inform a future program or a future grant. And then there's also program support that you could receive from them around active transportation initiatives. They do regular trainings and webinars. So if you're interested, you can sign up on their listserv and then get those emails. And I think this is a really good place to start if you're new to active transportation advocacy or looking at walking and biking needs in a community. I think looking through the resources, watching some of the webinars would help to give a good breadth of information on this topic. Okay, the next one is UC Berkeley SafeTRX Transportation Injury Mapping System. This is an online tool where California Walks and other communities across the state are accessing police-reported crash data. And I do want to emphasize it's police reported, so it's not complete data. It does not represent the complete crash data in a community, but it's it's pretty comprehensive for some communities and can be very bare for rural and small communities. And I would say that it's a great place to start, but it's good to also collect data from your community, whether it's through community events or some kind of forum or because there is missing data. So what am I talking about? There are many crashes that happen and they are not reported for various reasons. There are rural communities that maybe don't have the ability to report crashes as easily because of language barriers, because of who they're reporting to, because of fears of reporting to the police. So just saying that this is a good place to start, but you know your community better. So if you go in and you see very little, or the crashes are not representing where you know they're happening, it would be okay to take this data as the starting place and then develop maybe your own anecdotal list of crashes and experiences. So TIMS is a web-based tool. You do have to have an email to sign up, but that's about it. And it's developed by the California Department of Motor Vehicles, and it allows users to analyze and map data from SWTRS. SWTRS is the Statewide Integrated Traffic Record System. SWTRS provides the data on overall roadways, fatalities, and injuries, as well as fatalities and injuries to pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists, older adults, and others. The most recent data is available at the city and county level for 3 to 5 year timeframes, but SafeTrek is able to provide data for unincorporated communities, tribal communities upon request. And if you need a different segment of data, you want the 10-year time frame, you can make that request by visiting their website. Once you are looking at that, you can find very specific data sets to download. You can download reports, and these reports and graphs can be used in grant applications. So some ways that you could use this data. You can use it to go in and identify traffic safety problems in your community, such as high injury networks. Where are the crashes being reported? The types of crashes. So pedestrian, bicycle, rates of injuries by age or gender, time of day. Are there more crashes at a certain time of the day in your community? I think that this data could empower communities to advocate for walking and biking needs on its own, but I think coupled together with anecdotal data of what you actually experience in your community, it could become a really powerful tool when you're talking to city and county staff. Okay, and the next tool is also from UC Berkeley SafeTrek. It's also free. It does require, I believe, an email to sign up, and the reason is that it does ask not personal questions, but personal experiences. And being a university, they see that as research. So you do have to sign up with an email, but I think after that, you don't provide really any other personal information. Street Tour Story is a tool you can use to share about where you've been in a crash. Where a crash has been, what you've experienced, if you experienced a near miss, where you feel safe or don't feel safe. And it's a way to collect data for your community that maybe you don't feel comfortable reporting to law enforcement. There are counties across the state that are using this as their primary tool, and they're getting really good information that is now kind of filling in the picture from the SWTRS data that I mentioned above. It's available in English and Spanish, and you do have the ability to run reports in it. It provides summary charts, graphs from the data that's collected. And if you want additional types of data or demographics pulled out, you might be able to talk to SafeTrek, and they might be able to do that for you. The great thing about this is it's free and it's statewide. The negative thing about this is if your community has never heard about it, then they're probably not using it. So that data isn't being built for your community. So it does need a bit of a local individual or group to push for individuals to take their experiences walking and biking and put it into Street Story. Let's see. If you do have any questions and would like to use this in a workshop or in a community event, definitely reach out to SafeTrek. They sometimes are able to go in person and administer Street Story on paper, or they might be able to just do a quick training with your staff and you would be able to administer that program yourself. It's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions about any of the programs that I shared, feel free to reach out at info@calwalks.org. And now I'm going to pass it over to Marta, who's going to share more of the CalWalks programs and resources.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miha. And good morning, everyone. My name is Marta Sicairos, again, a community programs director with California Walks, and I'm joining you all from Cudahy, a small community in Southeast Los Angeles. So as Miha shared, I'll be sharing a few of CalWalks programs and resources. And the first will be the Community Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Program, or CPBSP. So the Community Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Program, or CPBSP, is a joint partnership of UC Berkeley Safe Transportation Research and Education Center, or SafeTrack, and California Walks. And the goal is to reduce pedestrian and bicycle fatalities and serious injuries in communities across the state. The CPBSP prioritizes working in communities that are at disproportionate risk of road traffic safety and road traffic injuries, and also addressing the safety needs of people who are traditionally underserved in the transportation resources and planning. So this can include the older adult population, people with lower incomes, people with disabilities, immigrant or refugee populations, and more. So a little bit about the project team. Miha already shared a little bit of an overview of California Walks, but I'll just go ahead and reiterate. California Walks is a nonprofit organization and a statewide voice for pedestrian safety and healthy walkable communities for people of all ages and abilities. We work to create safe and just inclusive streets and public spaces throughout the state. So our strengths as an organization really lie in community outreach and engagement, partnership building and collaboration, and strengthening a network of community organizations that are dedicated to advocating for pedestrian safety. We often partner with state agencies, with schools, community groups, and organizations to support their work towards a safe and walkable community. Our partners on this project are UC Berkeley SafeTrack, and they are a program of the UC Berkeley School of Public Health and the Institute of Transportation Studies. The center also has additional partnerships with the Department of City and Regional Planning, Public Policy, and Transportation Engineering. The center's objective is to prevent injuries from traffic crashes through projects that encompass research, training, public service, and policy development, with a focus on data analysis and data tools. So Miha just shared two of the data tools that UC Berkeley SafeTrack has developed, which are Street Story and TIMS. They also focus on technology for road safety and policy analysis and community outreach. So through this project, each team really leads on their strengths, with California Walks leading the community engagement, outreach, and planning piece, and SafeTrack leading the crash data analysis piece, which includes data discussions, an overview of the safe system approach, and also sharing those data tools and resources to support communities and building out a more complete picture of their walking and biking safety experiences. So the CPBSP is California Walks' longest running co-led program, which began in 2009 as a companion to the Federal Highway Administration sponsored pedestrian action plans that were being completed with cities across the United States. So at the time, the leadership of both organizations saw this as an opportunity to build off of those action plans and a need to continue supporting communities and identifying and addressing their pedestrian safety needs. So from 2009 to 2015, the program really focused on pedestrian safety and was known as the Community Pedestrian Safety Training, or the CPST. Over the years, the program has been updated, it has been streamlined and expanded to meet the needs of diverse communities across California. And it is now 3 separate projects that work together to support the state's diverse communities, but also to provide multi-year support, which is critical to meeting community safety goals. So some notable changes over the years were the addition of bicycle safety, the addition of follow-up technical assistance, and also trainings for Spanish-speaking communities. As you can see on the right-hand side, we have continuously worked with communities in the Central Valley, in Fresno County, in Tulare, in Kern, throughout the years in various capacities. So we're very familiar with some of the partners that are out in the Central Valley. So in 2016, after 7 years of working with communities, we expanded our focus to include bicycle safety to complement our existing pedestrian safety efforts, and the CPST became the CPBST. The CPBST program collaborates with residents, with schools, agencies, organizations, local officials, and other community partners throughout the state to identify and address community walking and biking safety concerns, and also advance their safety goals. So Here are a few of the goals of the program, which include increasing participants' knowledge of pedestrian and bicycle safety in their communities, identifying safe system strategies to improve safety for all road users, and also strengthening rapport between local officials, coalitions, and other partners. During the application process, the applicant agency, organization, or individual who applies identifies stakeholders who become the workshop planning committee. So the planning committee must represent the community and target population and also have the ability to provide meaningful outreach in support of the workshop. So we really look for folks who are connected to the community, who have built trust with folks in the community and can ultimately help yield a great turnout and participation during the community workshop. The project team, so CalWalks and SafeTrek, supports the planning committee throughout the planning process, which typically spans about 3 months. The workshop activities and materials and also an outreach plan are developed in collaboration with the planning committee, and they have the opportunity to review those materials, to provide feedback, and also ensure that our approach aligns with the community's needs. We also collaborate with the planning committee to develop an outreach plan, again, to help yield participation from a diverse range of stakeholders. So by utilizing a planning committee model, the project team serve as facilitators and collaborators, which enables the community to co-create a training that is meaningful to them. So here are a few of the CPBST components. Each training has specific components, including a crash data discussion and presentation to really understand the community's walking and biking experiences, a walking and biking safety assessment along a key route. This can be 1 or 2 routes depending on what the focus area is for that community. We also provide an overview of the safe system framework and strategies. And we end the training with an action planning activity to develop specific short-term and long-term goals for projects. Thank you. So our other project under the CPBSP is Comunidades Activas y Seguras project. We shorten it as CALLES, and this is the Active and Safe Communities program. So after working with communities of diverse backgrounds through our statewide CPBST program, we decided to create a curriculum to tailor it to better meet the needs of Spanish-speaking communities. So since the program launched in 2021, CALLES has been dedicated to enhancing walking and biking safety through a community-centered approach. And the project goals for this project are to engage the Spanish-speaking communities in pedestrian and bicyclist safety discussions, empower them to be part of future decision-making conversations and processes, partner on issues related to transportation safety, and also connect community members and stakeholders within participating communities to each other and create opportunities for collaboration. So similarly, can I go back just to the CALLES? Thank you so much. So similar to the CPBST, our team works with the local planning committee to customize the workshop, again, to ensure that it meets the needs of the community. We also prioritize cultural and linguistic sensitive materials to effectively identify and address walking and biking safety concerns. So I have 2 examples here. We developed materials, including the Safe System Loteria game, which you can see on the board. That's one of our tablas, where participants play a game of Loteria, which for folks who might be unfamiliar, it's similar to bingo. And folks get to learn about the different strategies that can be implemented in their community. So we've had this for about 3 years now, and we actually updated it this year, and we're really excited to continue using it as part of our curriculum. And in the past, we also developed the Los Caminos de la Vía podcast episodes. So these were community-led podcast episodes where we got to learn more about the community's experiences of walking and biking in their neighborhood, and also hear from the communities about their proposed solutions. So this project really aimed to amplify and uplift community voices through storytelling, which is really a fun and engaging way to get folks to talk about their experiences. This program has changed significantly over the 5 years, and we're just really excited to continue finding new ways to improve it and to tailor it to our Spanish-speaking communities. So now with the follow-up technical assistance, so former CPBST participants who either participate in the CPBST or CALLES are eligible for follow-up support to help their communities' implementation of programs, of projects, and recommendations outlined in their community action plan. So after a few years of the program running, communities began to show that they were excited about addressing their walking and biking safety goals, but often felt overwhelmed with the information available, the folks who are involved, and also the scope of some of their goals. So they started requesting additional support to move their projects along. And so now we're able to provide about 5 robust follow-up trainings per year. The trainings fall under 2 categories. We have community leadership and capacity strengthening workshops. And we also have workshops that are more so around the strengthening data-driven narrative. So although we have some preset trainings that you can see on screen, we're also able to tailor follow-ups to meet the community's needs. And any of the workshops or additional trainings can be planned for in-person or virtual participation. The follow-ups have been really helpful in bridging the gap between our workshops and the implementation of those projects. And this also can lead to multi-year support for some communities. So our program really isn't a one and done workshop. We have the opportunity to continue providing support to folks following the workshop, and we're really intentional about identifying what this might look like along each site following the training. So communities that participate in a training and follow-ups are often more likely to receive funding for their projects and also see their action plans become a reality. And one recent example is the city of Riverside. They applied, and I believe have 2 CPBST sites about 2 years ago. And they participated in the CPBST, and they received the Safe Streets for All grant funding opportunity, where they were able to prioritize projects outlined in the summary and recommendations report, including the addition of traffic calming measures in an area that sees high vehicle speeds around school zones. And across the CPBST program, our outreach and engagement efforts are based on the premise that the communities know best. So each of our projects has a tailored approach. We found that supporting community leaders and combining local and regional efforts have resulted in higher attendance and participation at our workshop. So for both the CPBST and CALLES programs, we work with the local planning committee, and we also have the opportunity to bring on community outreach consultants to develop and implement a community-specific outreach plan. So community outreach consultants, or COCs, are 1 to 2 planning committee members who assume additional planning, outreach, and facilitation responsibilities for the site. And they are compensated for their work and their expertise in carrying out some of these responsibilities. So with that, we do have a community developed outreach plans, which will vary depending on the site and community. What is effective in one community may not be effective in another. And so, for example, we've found that in rural communities such as Lamont and Kern County, schools really serve as a central hub for families and residents. And folks tend to rely on things like WhatsApp, on Facebook, or word of mouth to really access information and resources. Whereas in other communities, the use of social media and flyering may yield more engagement and participation. So for this reason, we've also developed various templates that our planning committees and our COCs can use to conduct outreach, including text messaging, email, and social media templates that they can use throughout the outreach piece. And then lastly, we have also used activities to help develop robust outreach plans with the planning committees. So this can include asset mapping or community visioning activities, where we identify key stakeholders and also specific outreach opportunities. Great. So I've already talked a little bit about the CPVSP, but outside of the CPVSP, California Walks has also developed our own technical assistance menu to support communities outside of the CPVSP program. I've listed a few of the potential TA trainings we offer here. However, this is not the full list. And I just want to highlight one project that we supported, which was the development of a walking field trip route and map for second grade students at Blossom Hill Elementary School, who are part of the Los Gatos Montesereno Safe Hostel School Coalition. So at the time, the school was going to see new improvements near the school zone in the area, and they wanted to create an opportunity for students to learn about safe walking behaviors and practices in their neighborhoods. Great. So the last piece I just want to reiterate is the importance of partnerships and the benefits of long-term partnerships that they can provide throughout different stages of our work. The context of grant applications, having strategic and skills partnerships can really stand out in grant applications. These partnerships tend to bring together different areas of knowledge or skills to create a more robust and comprehensive program. Mutually beneficial partnerships. These are partnerships that can leverage combined strengths and resources to achieve shared goals, such as increasing revenue, expanding reach, and also solving community problems more effectively, which is why we tend to partner with folks such as the CalFresh Healthy Living teams. I saw a few folks on the call who have been part of our planning committees, and they really do strengthen the work that we do out in these communities. And lastly, leveraging existing and limited resources. So this is especially true during a time when organizations are losing funding or funding cuts are happening across the board with this administration. And lastly, having strong established partnerships and relationships can really be a great asset and come in handy when opportunities such as new grants arise for communities. So I just want to say thank you for your time, everyone. We've included mine and Miha's emails and contact information. I know we're a little bit over time, but if there's any questions that you all have about our programs, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Martha and Miha. Any questions? Let's see. Thanks for the presentation for the OTS grant. Is there a limit on how many grants are awarded to a jurisdiction? So for example, could a transportation and public health department at the same county apply for the grant separately?
Yes, they could apply separately, but they would have to be separate projects. If not, they should apply together as a partnership. So yeah, there's no limit. As far as I know, they do sometimes fund multiple projects in communities, but they do also from year to year try to spread it out as much as possible, depending on the amount of funding. But yeah, different agencies can apply for different projects, different focuses, different community of need.
I do have a question myself. Just on the topic of SNAP Ed and SNAP Ed funding ending, but my question is to you all. What opportunities do you see for sustaining active transportation and community health initiatives? And how can organizations that are doing CalFresh Healthy Living work align with CalWalks to either access or advocate for new funding streams?
Well, I'll say that CalWalks has actually received CalFresh funds to implement active transportation programs at county and local levels. So I think the goals of the programs, like our work and the on active transportation, the goals of CalFresh definitely align. And I think that right now, with all of the changes, it's the things that Marta mentioned earlier. It's partnering, it's leveraging existing funds from unique sources. So maybe there's a project like OTS where an agency needs to apply and a CBO wouldn't have ever thought to apply. But now is the time as a CBO to reach out to your city and county and say, hey, our CalFresh funding has been reduced. We would like to continue doing active transportation, healthy living, active living work. And we think that this is a program that we could leverage. Would you be willing to apply with us? Here's what we would like to do. And obviously, there might have to be some tweaking of the program on the CalFresh side to meet the requirements of the new mostly active transportation safety focused grant. But I think that leveraging existing programs, leveraging partnerships, and just making an ask of the agencies in your community is a good place to start right now. Especially with the OTS program being released in December, there's plenty of time right now to figure out if there's a couple of partnerships that can be formed. The agency can subcontract to multiple CBOs. They don't have to do one project, one CBO. Yeah, just leveraging those funds. There's also a lot of free resources online. So if you are an organization that has volunteers, there's a lot of train the trainer resources online. There's a lot of like how to conduct a walk audit, how to set up safe routes to school activities. So if you have willing and able volunteers, there's a lot that can be done through the volunteer program. What else could I recommend? If you have local foundations, if you know somebody at the local foundation, you can come to them and say, hey, this is really important funding. It's now been cut. Is this something that the foundation can take on for the next couple of years during this administration? There's also funding that is nationwide. I didn't really mention any of it because it's so broad, but like REI has grants for active living. REI, I forgot the name of it, but it's one of the granola bars has annual grants, Cliff Bars. So you can leverage a lot of national grants as well for programs. America Walks has a community grant program. And if you want to be updated on those kind of programs, you can sign up on our listserv, and we often send those out when we send out a newsletter.
Awesome, thank you. And then just like a follow-up question. I know you mentioned that there are grant opportunities or funding opportunities through CalWalks. How far in advance are folks usually given like a notice of a potential funding opportunity opening up? And do you have any pre-application workshops or technical assistance sessions that you offer before the deadlines?
Yeah, for the first one, we don't offer the technical assistance in like an organized way, but if any community needs assistance with the application, you can email us when they're released, and either our team or the SafeTrack team can walk you through it. The applications, we try to make it very straightforward. Like very straightforward, just because we're not looking, we're not looking for technical data from you, technical knowledge of what's going on. We're more looking for like, what are you experiencing in your community? What are the safety things that you want to address, and who do you want to involve? So we try to keep our applications very simple. We have been tentatively funded for the 2026 OTS grant, and that usually the application is released in early January. It might be a little bit earlier this year. We're not sure yet because we haven't officially even signed the contract. But once that's released, it will get blasted on our newsletter, on SafeTrack's newsletter. And then from then, we just accept applications until the spots are filled. So I would say join our listserv, join SafeTrack's listserv if you want updates, and just look out for an announcement. I don't know, anywhere from late December to early January.
Thank you. And then Martha did share the listserv. So if you'd like to sign up and register for the newsletters, you can do that with the link that she shared in the chat. Any other questions for Martha or Miha? And thank you so much, Martha and Miha, for being here today.
Bye, everyone.
We appreciate the information shared. Agenda. So unfortunately, Alameda County is not able to join us live and in person. They were triple booked for today's event, but they were kind enough to share their slide deck and presentation with us. So we will be sharing on their behalf. This should take about 8 to 10 minutes, and then we'll jump into a quick networking activity. This does hinder a little bit of the time that we had scheduled for today's event. So we might, or we more than likely will be ending a little bit sooner than anticipated. But we'll just take it one step at a time. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share the Alameda County presentation. So we can move into the next slide. So Alameda County is an urban county. They are a medium-sized county per CalFresh Healthy Living. So they have about 14 cities, as well as 6 unincorporated communities and rural areas throughout 813 square miles of the county. They are working in active transportation, and their active transportation work is funded with state-only designated funds from the Department of Transportation, which is funneled through the California Transportation Commission to their hyperlocal metropolitan transportation commission. So if we go into the next slide. So the incorporated cities here are on this super visual map. So they have Alameda, Albany, Berkeley, Dublin, Emeryville, Fremont, Hayward, Livermore, Newark, Oakland, Piedmont, Pleasanton, San Leandro, and Union City. So the unincorporated communities are Ashland, Castlewood, Castro Valley, Cherryland, Fairview, Happy Valley, Hillcrest, Knowles, San Lorenzo, and Sunol. So these areas are not governed by city councils, and services like roadwork, libraries, and any other services provided are provided by the county itself. When it comes to active communities in Alameda County, in addition to their nutrition education programs, they also do have active community menus, or they have an active community menu of programs and supports that include their active transportation programming. Active Transportation has funded their work for 6 cycles and over a 10-year period. Historically, program manager level staff and field staff have been funded by state-only designated active transportation program funding. And historically, over this period of time, a portion of supervisory staff has been funded through CalFresh Healthy Living. After September 30th of this year, it is their hope that general county dollars will cover this portion of supervisory staff time, which will allow for them to continue to work on programming and program continuance and sustainability efforts. So like our SNAP Ed cycle, the active transportation cycle is on a 3-year period as well. And their current project, which you'll hear about in the next couple of slides, will sunset September 30th of 2026. Alameda County has been successful at securing non-infrastructure funding for the past 5 cycles that they've applied for, with the exception of Cycle 7, which just passed. For Cycle 7, they submitted 1 application as the lead agency, and they went in with another agency, which I'll get to talk about towards the end. So active transportation funded collaborative work with partners that they're doing includes the local school district, so the Oakland Unified School District, Transform, which is a local nonprofit that conducted walk audits, Golden Sneaker Contest, Walk and Roll to School Days, Ruby Bridges Day, and Bike Month. And they also do work with schools' safety patrols, which are overseen by the City of Oakland. School safety patrols are the youth-led valets for safe drop-offs and pickups at elementary and charter schools throughout the district, and public health staff were the liaisons among the partners. The Safe Routes to School work sunsetted and thankfully continues to this day. It's been 2 school years, and here's why. So partners have shared values. They all believed in supporting schools in disadvantaged communities as defined by active transportation, and expanded to more or different schools after they left. So the district adopted and implemented health and wellness policy that included safe routes to school. Because of this policy, they were able to identify health and wellness champions as part of their commitment to healthy school communities, which made it a lot easier for them to partner with. They also involved their school community and have parents serving as safety patrol advisors. This is a model which they continued to uphold, and of course, keeping their commitment to youth and youth leadership has allowed for the program to continue to flourish. The city has also committed to Safe Streets, which holds the school's safety patrols to this day. So then what? We conducted listening sessions with adults and young people to see if there are elements of the model that they could work in a community-based setting with housing sites and active transportation communities as the hub of activity instead of schools. They also continue to check in with youth leaders, and the community liked the idea of the intergenerational component of having older adults at housing sites alongside youth and young adult advisors to guide safe routes to healthy places. And the community also aimed at having resident leaders inform and lead safe routes to healthy places and safe and open spaces. 2 years later, it is still working. They've been tested. One of the housing sites wanted a comprehensive formal letter of agreement for the safe routes work and nutrition services programming, and they haven't been there for almost 2 months. So the leaders at one site still go on weekly walks. So they do 2 walks per week. As far as the other strategies, one housing site was connected already to city bus services, and now all 13 sites connect and take advantage of using the city buses for special encouragement outings to parks. Most of the sites that they've partnered with are also committed to sustainability and long-term environmental change. As a result of an initial walk and roll audit, the housing site formed a safety committee to address issues that arose. This included a commitment from the site's property management to address resident concerns. Another site did formalize a neighborhood association with a commitment to take over a block that's known to have loitering and drinking on the corner by having biannual healthy living events. They have also showed up frequently at resident meetings to meet folks, and the regularity of us showing up has helped them keep them regular with their walk and rolls as well. I shared in the beginning, part of the success was up until cycle 7. So the butt end of this is a sustainability strategy in itself. So when you hear better together, this is how we were successful in sustaining active transportation funding beyond September 30th of 2026. We partnered with our local park and recreation district in the unincorporated area of the county. We also went in on a combined infrastructure and non-infrastructure project, and were able to secure $1 million in non-infrastructure funding with a fall 2027 start date. So they will have the opportunity to return to school work. So to work with local youth centers and to partner with 2 school districts. They did want to share some helpful resources, which include you. So you as like yourself, utilize your network. So just recently, as a result of HR1, many organizations within our CalFresh Healthy Living were curious about non-government funding. So I invited one person within my personal network who works at a private foundation, and she ended up inviting 2 other private funders to our CNAP. The staff at the Safe Routes National Partnership have been accessible and helpful. They were also very instrumental in providing technical assistance for the Cycle 7 funding, and they were able to present their work at a national conference. Which brings me to tell you your story. We know SNAP-Ed works, and that regardless of our funding situation, what we do matters and has excellent outcomes. So take the opportunity to talk about your work, make a poster, present at a meeting to find synergies, and a note on resiliency. This stuff is hard. We are working in hard times, so make space for yourself and remember to breathe. So they wanted to share the Breath book by James Nestor. And then they do have some quotes from some of the participants that they've worked with. So Yvonne from the Oakland Housing Authority in Lockwood Gardens. shared, the Walking Club is a vital resource for residents of the Oakland Housing Authority. It brings the community together around a shared goal, improving health and wellness. By participating, residents not only take steps toward a healthier lifestyle, but they also build connections and interact with fellow neighbors in a positive, supportive way. Iman from also Lockwood Gardens shared, the program has caused us to create a family. We look forward to seeing and walking with one another. By having that family feel, we share with one another other ways to stay healthy while doing something healthy. We are very supportive of one another. And a resident at Terrence, Lisa, shares, I enjoy physical activities and eat healthy to lower my diabetes and cholesterol levels. I love to attend the Happy Heart presentation and learn more about diabetes. So thank you so much. And again, this was me sharing the presentation for Alameda County's Public Health. If you would like to connect with Rachel Barras, I have included this slide, which contains her email, her contact information. So her email, phone number, and also social media accounts for their nutrition team. Any questions? I'm not sure if I'd be able to answer any questions, but does anybody have any questions before we jump into our second networking activity, and then we'll begin to wind down for the day?
I did want to mention quickly, there are a couple links in the slides that once I share the PDF, those links work. So this Eden on the Move link that comes up, as well as the Safe Routes National Partnership. So one is a toolkit and one is just the website. So you'll have those ready to go once we send these out.
We are nearing the end of the event. Would like to just take this opportunity to share the evaluation with you, and we'll include that in the chat as well. Your feedback is valued. We do take your feedback and incorporate that into future events. And we like to hear from you and just to really get to know like what you thought about the event itself, or if there would be any changes that you'd incorporate into these events. So feel free to take some time to work on the evaluation. We also will include this in the follow-up email. And then with that, I just wanted to give you all some Leah's Pantry's updates. So I wanted to just take a moment to touch on what's next for Leah's Pantry. Many of you are our longtime partners, and we hope that no matter what happens, our relationships can continue and we can continue to work with one another. So the future of Leah's Pantry. So we do recognize that the need for SNAP-Ed work hasn't changed, but how we deliver our programs is going to change a little bit. So Leah's Pantry losing a huge network. We're losing funding, so we're adapting and we are evolving. So over the 30-year history of this program, we've learned how to structure and execute complex nutrition security programs that align with evidence-based work and public health approaches. And we will continue to do that. So first of all, Leah's Pantry remains committed to a trauma-informed approach. That is a core tenet of our work, and it's not going to be lost. So to do that successfully, we must maintain the legacy of our partners and our partners' materials, their ideas, and all the incredible relationships that we have built over the years. As trainers and developers, we're not just going to keep doing what we're doing, we are going to keep evolving. So we will continue our custom training and capacity building work and use our existing curriculum, but we're also actively looking to expand into new settings and sectors. So as you all move into new spaces, please think of us. So like consider us for any future work that you're doing. To make this happen, we are going to be adjusting our curriculum and content to better fit these new audiences. So for instance, our Nutrition Pantry program has been heavily focused on SNAP-Ed implementers. They do make up over half of our current network, but now our program manager for the Nutrition Pantry program, is pivoting, and she'll begin to focus on more of the other 40% of our network and take a more food bank focused approach to the program. So the bottom line is that we are going to get creative and find new opportunities where the need and the funding aligns. We also do have a couple of new training opportunities. So we have some that may be of special interest to folks in the room today. These trainings are all free for those with CalFresh Healthy Living funding and at a minimal cost for our out-of-state partners. So you can find these trainings and more on our website under the training tab. And at the leaspantry.org/training calendar website, and that link is in the chat now. And these do focus on trauma-informed customer care and customer service, balancing self-care with transition training, and a garden sustainability capacity building training. We also have that QR code. So if you like to scan that QR code, it'll take you to our page directly. In addition to our training and technical assistance, we are also dedicated to maintaining the technology and tools that make your community-based work possible. So our resources, including our resource libraries, Eat Fresh, the mini course, Talent LMS, and our CalFresh training materials are not going anywhere. These platforms will remain available and free for the community. You may, however, see some changes in our resource repository as we rebrand and we move into a broader community space. So everything will remain the same. We may just lose some logos. As I've already mentioned, our greatest currency and most valuable asset is all of you, the people we've learned, grown, and built amazing programs with. So if this is the end of your journey in your current role, we sincerely hope it's not the end of our relationship with you. So please stay in touch. One easy way to do that is to switch your newsletter subscription to a personal email address using our sign-up form on the Leah's Pantry website. You can also reach out to us at our info@leaspantry.org email address to let us know what you're up to and think about ways we can continue to collaborate. I also hope that you all take the time and give yourselves the space and the grace to process and heal from such a challenging, hectic, and stressful time, personally and professionally. With that being said, we do have some upcoming podcast episodes that are being released. So many of you are familiar with our podcast, Stocking the Pantry, which has been a valuable resource. As it was funded by CalFresh Healthy Living, we do anticipate that the podcast will be sunsetting, at least for now. I do encourage you all to check out our second to last episode, which is all about holistic emotional first aid. It's a very timely topic for many of us. And please know that links to all of our previous episodes will remain available on our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on any of your favorite podcast platforms for the latest Stocking the Pantry episodes. And then lastly, just want to share that we are still taking submissions for JTICH, and that submission deadline is August 31st of 2025. We do emphasize on submissions from people doing community work who may not typically find themselves contributing to a journal. JTICH is a resource where you and others can share your work, and whether it's something that you're doing currently or something that you've done in the past, and learn about what is going on around the state and the country. So we are currently accepting articles for its next issue, and we would love to receive one from you. You can submit an article about a successful project spanning a year or more. Or if you'd like to just know more information about JTICH itself, we invite you to visit the journal website at jtich.org. That is the best way to find out more about the journal, connect with our staff, and view any articles from previous issues. Or if you want to talk more about the journal, you can email our JTICH manager, Kim, and I believe, yes, that email that you see on the screen will connect you to her directly. And lastly, just want to remind you again to make use of the Nutrition Security Peer Learning community. Again, it's a great way to network and build relationships with both CalFresh Healthy Living implementers, Leah's Pantry implementers, and folks that are working in the public health sectors. It does provide you with an easy way to collaborate and exchange ideas with partnering organizations. And it is user-driven conversation. So you get to create the content, create the conversations, ask the questions. This is a great platform to, make connections and share resources. So feel free to connect with other folks by creating an account, or if you already have an account, by creating those new conversations and conversation topics. With that being said, thank you. Thank you all for being here today. We appreciate your time. We will be staying behind, so if you have any questions that you'd like to ask us, we'll stay on until about 12. If you don't have any questions, then thank you for being here. We hope you all have a great day, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.